Okay, welcome to this RPG story challenge, in which I've been given 3 concepts and have to create a RPG story from them. I'm also going to add a random word. The 3 concepts are superpowers, superheroes, might makes right in a realistic style. It's not really 3 concepts, but let's work with that. And a random word is pudding. Okay, let's go for it. So, some sort of process, some sort of ooze is created that can give humans superpowers of some sort. It's nicknamed pudding because of its texture and appearance. And in fact, when it was generally known, people rushed to pudding stores in case, people bought up lots of pudding and then tried to sell them on street corners as sort of superpower enables. And, okay, in a realistic style, might makes right. Well, you start off with only a few people with superpowers, and they believe they can change the world for the better, as they would, and they're sure that they should be in charge. And governments fall pretty quickly to these superheroes with various powers and stuff like that, and various instabilities, and who find that actually running a government is quite a lot harder than it looks, and that their general ability to sort of punch their way out of things does not, for instance, grant them any special insights into the best tax system or how to get people to get along with each other. And so, but the recipe for pudding is out, and little by little people manage to, it's quite complicated, but people manage to synthesize it privately. Companies first, then individuals, and so the number of superheroes increases one by one. And the ones, so suddenly the first superheroes who sort of ruled with iron fist unquestionably, now there is a new group who are challenging them. And let's start the game at a point where about, say, 1% of the human population has superpowers, and it's a proportion that's growing. And so now a lot of states have sort of collapsed, or relations between them have been reduced to slagging match between their superheroes, and because the might makes right, they took over the system based on force, and then ruling by force, there's nothing left but force when they're challenged. So you have a sort of post-apocalyptic world without there really being an apocalypse. It's just the collapse of all social structures without the collapse of technological. You wouldn't have had the, if one country had nuked another, the superheroes would have flied out and deflected the nukes. Maybe a few cities got nuked, but that's about it. So it's kind of a social post-apocalypse because no one can form a decent government without it either getting crushed by superheroes or with having superheroes within it itself. And now with 1% of the population, you're kind of getting to the point where different systems of governments with superheroes might sort of work. And the question is, do they form sort of governments? Do they, because now it's not just 1 or 2 at the top, it's sort of more of a mass, so some sort of democracy, hierarchy system makes more sense. And the big question is, of course, do we spread pudding to every single person on the planet so that everyone's a superhero, and maybe the environment is under immense strain as well, and things are breaking because of all these superheroes and their destructive battles. So, yeah, and so the question is, do we allow pudding to spread? Do we try and stamp it out? And what kind of social system are we trying to rebuild now? Now that there are many superheroes and not just a few. And what sort of identities will they form with? And this will be strongly determined by the first few superheroes. If they kept to national lines, then we'll still have sort of nations. If they were more ideological or cultural groupings, then we'll get sort of very different groups. And this, now it's changing, of course, but that's still the influence of the first superheroes and the decisions they made and the factions they created is still there. Okay, I think that's a world in which you could create some interesting characters. Thank you for listening.